The Shark Deck.
Thank you, audience of five. Hi, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. The other day when I was talking about some of the Israel stuff, I went to Google George Carlin political commentary to try and make a point. I didn't find the point I was trying to make, but I stumbled across an article from January 1988 in the LA Times titled, "At 50, George Carlin, Still an Angry Man." The LA Times wrote way back when, Carlin turned 50 last year, an age that is bound to mellow even the hardest case. And then there were those Fuji film commercials, the iconoclastic Carlin, who at one time probably included the establishment on his famed list of dirty words, and he's become a minor symbol of 80s consumerism with his TV and radio hawking.
Hey, are you watching me now, or did you videotape me before? If you taped me before, you're not watching me now. You're watching me later. But if you're taping me now, and you want me to be clear and sharp when you watch me later, use the good stuff. Fuji videotape.
Despite those disquieting signs, there's really no need to worry. Are we worried about George Carlin in the 80s selling out? I don't remember that. Carlin's feisty show at the Celebrity Theater in Anaheim on Friday in 1988 was evidence that his edge remains unblunted. Once the angry young man, he's now an angry middle-aged man. Carlin has always been two comedians. First, there's the embraceable ironist who whimsically dwells almost sweetly on life's absurdity and the trouble it gets us into. Then there's Carlin as social critic, a talking political cartoon whose confrontational wit disembowels anything associated with the right wing. Carlin discussed Reagan's support of big business. Quoting Carlin, "The administration is against street crime as long as it isn't Wall Street." The LA Times said the observation wasn't terribly funny, but it showed Carlin's uncompromisingly liberal slant, a positioning that can be more than amusing fun for leftists, but undoubtedly infuriating for an audience's more conservative members. Even if you agree with him, it can be a bit much. You yearn for a little laughing gas, a dose of lightheadedness. Fortunately, Carlin shifts perspective soon enough, as if he knows the political thrust can only be sustained for so long. It's almost like he's saying, okay, you were patient about the lecture, now here's your reward. Carlin then went into a bit about people I avoid. One of the jokes, dentists with blood in their hair. As he's done for years, Carlin ended the show with a raw staccato reading of an ever-growing list of words that have been banned from radio and television. Like the slang in his red light litany, Carlin can be shocking, even offensive to those who want their comedy censored, but unlike these dirty words, there's little to question of his redeeming social value. LA Times, January 11th, 1988. Rolling Stone did that fantastic interview with Roy Wood Jr. If you want to read the whole thing, it's somewhere in the Facebook group now. A few days ago, I posted it. Daily Comedy News Podcast group. They asked Roy Wood Jr., what's a big lesson you learned from working with Trevor Noah? Roy's answer, very interesting, knowing when to leave. Just recognizing when it's time for you to try and do something else, when it's time to try to level up into something bigger. Whether it be with Comedy Central or not, I need to take that time to home in on exactly that is what I need to do. Trevor never really got upset. I don't think I've ever seen him mad, ever. He's definitely diplomatic and definitely knows how to lead by example. He's not a general like, say, Jon Stewart was. Trevor's more cool hand Luke. Rolling Stone asked Roy, late night is all white men? Why does he keep going back to that? Roy said, I don't know why he keeps going back to white dudes in the seat. I do think they're going to try to use economics to justify cuts. It's an easier way than saying something isn't racist when you just go, oh, we don't have the money. I will say that women have it worse than men. Every woman late night host you can name in the last 5 to 8 years, the show was created. They didn't inherit anyone's chair. What's next for you, Roy Wood Jr.? He said, my Comedy Central First Look deal died about a year and a half ago, so I'm a free agent across the board. I have the opportunity right now to talk to any network about any show and do some more writing as well. Stand-up, sitcoms, and movies. I'm open to anything. Right now, I have a couple of tour dates in January with Jordan Klepper. We're doing a silly live town hall thing in a number of towns, and I've always enjoyed working with Klepper, so it'll be fun to do that in some capacity. I don't feel a sense of urgency with late night. What's the right idea? And what will the market bear? Okay, you left The Daily Show. What are the paths? You could go Steve Carell and do TV. You can go Sam B or John Oliver and do another show. You could pull a Jason Jones and do TV or movies. Same thing with Olivia Munn. It's fun to have options. The Baltimore Sun was profiling Stavros Halkias, and they want you to know that he's more than Ronnie. Ronnie is a character who is a Ravens-loving, obscenity-spitting, Essex-residing fellow who posts video recaps after each Baltimore Ravens games. Who do the Ravens have today? The Lions, 1 o'clock. Hey, that's a good game. The Sun writes, when the Ravens are winning, according to Ronnie, they're headed straight to the Super Bowl. Sounds like most Jets fans. We've been making fun of Jets fans like that. The Jets go up 3-0 week 1, and the fans are like, Super Bowl! But when they lose, as they did against the Pittsburgh Steelers, Ronnie is apoplectic. Ronnie is also the reason Halkias suspects that all 6 Baltimore shows of his Fat Rascal tour sold out. He said, I never expected to be the go-to Ravens reaction comedy guy, but I'm pumped. I think that's a big reason we sold so many tickets. Some of those people are going to be very disappointed when I come out and I'm not Ronnie. The Sun asked him if Baltimore shaped his sense of humor. He said, absolutely. I mean, definitely. It's an interesting, strange place. I think it's an interesting mix of caring about art, but at the end of the day, being a very blue-collar place. You know, the Charm City nickname can feel sarcastic half the time, right? Not everybody's about their manners. There's not a lot of putting on airs in Baltimore. They'll let you know what they think of you. Any favorite spots in Baltimore? I'm a big diner guy. Broadway's my home diner, and I'll go to Sip and Bite also. I'm curious about Sip and Bite. Let's see what Sip and Bite's got on the menu. Sip and Bite, a Baltimore legend since 1948. I know the Maryland people are right now. How do you not know what Sip and Bite is? I didn't know what Sip and Bite is. I'm sorry. Now I'm interested in it. I haven't been to Baltimore in a long time. That guy from the Bed Pays Rent store yesterday, though, he used to go to Baltimore with me. All right, I'm on the Sip and Bite Diner website here. We can get pancakes, including a cheesy Dutch baby filled with ham and cheddar jack. That seems like a little much. French toast, waffles. I'm not going to read you the whole menu. Guy Fieri's favorite crab cakes. Why is that on this? Sandwiches and submarines, 2 different categories. Sandwiches are served with chips. Fries will cost you an extra $1. Onion rings will cost you $2 extra. Apparently a cheeseburger counts as a sandwich. The Maryland people are going to be so mad at me. The submarines are where the cheesesteaks go. So I guess we're talking longer bread there, right? And so more of a hero, as we would call it up in the part of the country. John, get back to the comedy story. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm a big diner guy. Broadway's my home diner, and also go to Sip and Bite. I also really like Sal & Sons in the Broadway market. I'm resisting all my instincts to Google Sal & Sons. I won't do it. I'm blowing up one of my favorite spots with you here. It's quick. It's so good. It's really one of my most go-to restaurants for what feels like a healthy meal. A little salmon, little veggies. I also have a couple spots I can't tell. There's a couple I got to keep to myself. As for Ronnie, it's less doing comedy and more like performing a seance. It's also a fun way for me, in a cowardly way, to sneak in some of my own dumb opinions but hide behind the character. It just started as a way to cleanse myself after a particularly bad Ravens loss, and it's grown into something that people really love. The LA Times spoke to Jay Leno. Jay advises stand-ups to resist automatically turning to profanity or insults, especially when dealing with hecklers. Jay said, not necessarily against using profanity. I almost went into a half-assed Jay Leno. I've never attempted a half-assed Jay Leno. I don't know if I have one yet. Should I just do it? All right, let's just do it. But I think using profanity is more than... That was terrible. I think using profanities... Why don't you edit that out? Because I'm with you. I know you wanted me to do it, and I know it sucked. I could have taken that whole thing out. We're a team. Jay said, I'm not necessarily against using profanity, but I just think using profanities more than you need to is just being lazy. And I don't get hecklers often, but every comedian has dealt with them at some point. Comedians should realize that as a stand-up comic, you can bring someone down in the crowd pretty easily. When you destroy a heckler, you destroy a part of the audience and they think as a group. So it's probably better if you can let them down easy without snapping their neck. For example, this one time I had a big, huge fat guy heckling me at a show. So I called him out and made fun of his tie. See, now I feel like I owe you a half-ass impression. Should I just do some callbacks from yesterday's pod? If you have bats in your home, you might be a redneck. Or if you think the bed pays rent, you might be a redneck. All right, break time, Sean. The Plano Comedy Festival kicks off tonight. It goes through the 29th. It's the 5th annual Plano Comedy Festival. It features over 100 local and national comedians and sketch and improv groups. Board member Brittany Goss told the Dallas Observer, they say that we make Plano look cool. Plano is the happiest city in America. Today at 5 p.m., it is the kickoff show. Looks like about 7 comedians, not any names that I recognize there. Doesn't mean they're bad, just means I don't recognize them. And then at 7 o'clock, there's a different show. Fonzo Crow plays the Plano House of Comedy. Looking ahead later in the week, Rachel Feinstein Friday night, Beth Stilling on Saturday night next week. Vulture did their 25 comedians you should know. Fumo Abe is on the list. They asked him, what unscripted or reality series do you think you'd excel at? The answer, America's Best Dance Crew. Well, I can't dance, but that would be my angle. I would be representing all the Midwest Asians out there who grew up going to Vans Warped Tour and prefer moshing over milli rocking. All right, what was your worst show? I did something called the Teen Tours in LA recently, which is a stand-up show for high schoolers. It's a tough show. You can't get through any material because 99% of them are talking during your set, because why would a 15-year-old know stand-up comedy etiquette? The show is a reputable club in LA where every night you could see somebody like Tiffany Haddish, so the students were a bit disappointed that the show's lineup consisted of nobody comedians like me. Anyway, I go on stage, and as soon as I grab the mic, some girl goes, oh, I thought Matt Rife was going to be here. Before I could say anything, another kid goes, that ain't Matt Rife, that's Matt Rice. And the whole room exploded in laughter. I got roasted so hard before I could even get one joke in. I had to accept there was nothing I could say that would be funnier than what that boy said, so I got off stage. All right, let's go watch Ravens Lions. That's your comedy news for today. Follow the show for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your shows. Slipping in a Foxworthy there. Wherever you get your shows. See you tomorrow.